The auction house on Kepler Station buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 12 different species filled the grand hall, their translator devices humming softly as they prepared for what many considered the most important sale in galactic history. Above them, holographic displays showed the prize that had drawn beings from across the galaxy. A massive albino wolf from the forbidden world of Terra. Maya Chen adjusted her simple black dress and checked her bidding paddle one final time. At 23, she looked completely out of place among the alien dignitaries, military officials, and corporate executives. Her father, David Chen, had built his fortune in interstellar shipping. But Maya had always preferred animals to board meetings. The fact that she was here, representing the Chen family interests, surprised even her. The wolf stood in a containment field at the center of the hall, its white fur seeming to glow under the station's artificial lights. It was enormous, easily twice the size of any wolf that had ever existed on Earth before the Great Enhancement. Its blue eyes scanned the crowd with an intelligence that made several bidders shift uncomfortably in their seats. Ambassador Thex Ral of the Zephyrian Empire leaned forward in his hover chair, his scaled skin glinting purple in the light. As the chief representative of the galaxy's most powerful military force, he had come personally to ensure this creature would serve the Empire's purposes. The Zephyrians had ruled over 200 worlds for 3 centuries, and they had not achieved that dominance through kindness. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings," announced auctioneer Voss, a tall centauri with 4 arms and silver skin. "We begin bidding for specimen Alpha 7, the last known albino wolf from the restricted world Terra. As you all know, Earth remains under quarantine, following humanity's unfortunate tendency toward violence and unpredictable behavior." Maya's jaw tightened at the casual insult to her species, but she had learned to expect such comments. Humans were considered dangerous primitives by most galactic civilizations, despite having achieved faster-than-light travel only 200 years after the aliens made first contact. The quarantine meant that few humans lived outside their solar system, and those who did, like her family, faced constant scrutiny. The bidding started at 50 million credits. Maya watched as various species tried to outbid each other, their motivations clear enough. The Corellian Science Consortium wanted to study the wolf's enhanced genetics. The Vegan Trade Federation saw it as an exotic status symbol. But the Zephyrians wanted something darker. The enhancement process used on Terran fauna could be replicated for military applications. She had overheard Ambassador Thexral explaining to his aide earlier. "Imagine our shock troops with similar modifications to their aggression and loyalty programming." The bidding reached 200 million credits when Maya finally raised her paddle. A ripple of surprise went through the hall. Most beings present knew of the Chen family's wealth, but they had not expected them to show interest in what was clearly going to become a military asset. 250 million, Maya called out clearly. Ambassador Thexral turned to stare at her, his yellow eyes narrowing. "The human child thinks to compete with the Empire? How amusing." The insult was broadcast through the hall's translation system, meant to be heard by everyone. Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks, but she kept her expression calm. She had dealt with worse than alien arrogance. 300 million, she responded, not bothering to acknowledge the ambassador's comment. For the next 20 minutes, the bidding war continued between Maya and the Zephyrian Empire. Other bidders gradually dropped out as the price climbed beyond reasonable limits. At 800 million credits, even the Corellian Science Consortium withdrew their bid with visible disappointment. 1 billion credits, Ambassador Thexral announced, his voice carrying a note of finality that suggested he considered the matter settled. Maya studied the wolf in its containment field. Throughout the entire auction, the creature had remained calm, but she noticed how its ears perked up whenever she spoke. Its blue eyes seemed to focus on her with an intensity that was almost human-like. There was something about this particular animal that went beyond its obvious intelligence and enhanced genetics. 1.5 billion credits, Maya said quietly. The hall fell silent, except for the soft humming of life support systems. 1.5 billion credits was more than the annual defense budget of most minor worlds. It was an absurd amount to pay for any single creature, enhanced or not. Ambassador Thexral rose from his hover chair, his purple scales darkening to an angry violet. This is ridiculous. The Empire has legitimate military applications for this specimen. What could a human possibly want with such a creature? That's my business, Maya replied, meeting his gaze steadily. The ambassador's aide, a younger Zephyrian named Koltar, whispered urgently in his superior's ear. Maya caught fragments of their conversation through her translation device. Budget constraints. And Council will not approve. ATIS. ASCA. Budget constraints. She had done her research before coming here. The Zephyrian Empire was powerful, but they had been fighting a costly war against rebel colonies in the Outer Rim for the past 5 years. Their military budget was stretched thin, and spending over 1 billion credits on a single specimen would raise questions even among their own leadership. 1.6 billion, Ambassador Thexral said, but Maya could hear the uncertainty in his voice. 2 billion, she countered immediately. The auction hall erupted in whispers and excited chatter. Several species representatives were frantically communicating with their homeworlds, trying to understand what could possibly justify such an enormous expenditure. The wolf itself seemed oddly calm throughout the bidding war, its attention focused primarily on Maya. Ambassador Thexral stood frozen for a long moment, his hands clenched into fists. Finally, he spoke into his communication device in rapid Zephyrian. The response was immediate and clearly negative, judging by the way his scales continued to darken. The Empire withdraws its bid, he announced coldly. But this matter is far from over, human. The Zephyrian Council will be very interested to learn why a primitive species would pay such an absurd sum for what is clearly a military asset. Auctioneer Voss's forearms gestured gracefully as he announced Maya as the winner. Sold to Representative Chen for 2 billion credits. All transaction fees and transportation arrangements can be handled through our standard channels. 2. As the hall began to empty, Maya remained in her seat, staring at the wolf that now belonged to her. She had just spent nearly a quarter of her family's liquid assets on a single animal, and she wasn't entirely sure why. There had been something about the way the wolf looked at her, something that suggested intelligence far beyond what even enhanced genetics should allow. Ambassador Thexral approached her as she finally stood to leave. You have made a very expensive mistake, human. The Empire does not forget such insults. I wasn't trying to insult anyone, Maya replied honestly. I just wanted to make sure this wolf didn't end up as a test subject in some military laboratory. How touchingly naive. The ambassador sneered. Do you think your credits protect you from the Empire's reach? We have ways of acquiring assets that don't involve auction houses. Maya felt a chill run down her spine, but she kept her voice steady. Are you threatening me, Ambassador? I am simply explaining galactic realities to a child who clearly doesn't understand them. He leaned closer, his scaled face inches from hers. The Empire has been tolerating human expansion for decades purely out of amusement. Do not mistake our patience for weakness. After the ambassador left, Maya approached the containment field where her new companion waited. The wolf's blue eyes tracked her movement, and she could swear she saw something like recognition in its gaze. Hello there, she said softly. I guess we're partners now. I hope I made the right choice. The wolf tilted its head slightly, and for just a moment, Maya thought she heard something impossible. A voice speaking directly into her mind, clear as day despite the species barrier. You did, Maya Chen, and the Empire will learn that some things cannot be taken by force. Maya stepped backward in shock, but the wolf's expression remained calm and patient. She looked around quickly to see if anyone else had noticed anything unusual, but the remaining staff were busy with post-auction cleanup procedures. Did you just, she began, then felt foolish for trying to have a conversation with an animal, enhanced or not. The voice came again, warm and somehow ancient. My name is Fenris, and I have been waiting a very long time for someone like you. The Zephyrians seek to use my kind as weapons, but they do not understand what they are truly dealing with. Humanity may be young among the stars, but you have something the Empire has forgotten. The courage to stand against impossible odds. Maya realized that purchasing this wolf might have been the most important decision of her life, though she had no idea yet just how dangerous that decision would prove to be. The Zephyrian Empire controlled over 200 worlds, and commanded fleets that could destroy entire solar systems. But as she looked into Fenris's intelligent blue eyes, she began to suspect that the galaxy's power structure was about to change in ways no one could predict. The transportation arrangements to get Fenris back to her family's private station would take 3 days to finalize. During that time, Maya would need to figure out how to explain to her father why she had just spent 2 billion credits on what appeared to be an oversized pet. More importantly, she would need to understand exactly what she had gotten herself into by outbidding the galaxy's most powerful military empire for a creature that could apparently communicate telepathically. As the auction house staff began preparing Fenris for transfer to temporary holding facilities, Maya made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. Whatever the consequences of her purchase, she would not let the Zephyrian Empire or any other power treat this intelligent being as a mere specimen or weapon. The wolf's mental voice reached her one more time, as the staff led them toward separate exits. The storm is coming, Maya Chen. But storms have a way of revealing who truly has strength, and who merely appears powerful. The Empire is about to learn the difference. Maya's private transport ship, the Stellar Wind, drifted silently through hyperspace toward the Chen family's mining station in the Proxima system. In the cargo hold, specially converted for Fenris's comfort, the albino wolf lay resting on a bed of synthetic grass. The containment field had been replaced with a simple force barrier that could be deactivated from the inside, giving Fenris the freedom to move around while preventing any accidents during hyperspace travel. "I still can't believe you can talk to me," Maya said, sitting cross-legged on the floor near the barrier. "The galactic databases say Earth wolves were never sentient. Even after the genetic enhancement programs." Fenris lifted his massive head, blue eyes focusing on her with that unsettling intelligence. "The databases are wrong about many things regarding your world. The quarantine wasn't put in place just because humans were considered violent. It was because some of the experiments conducted on Earth produced results that made the established powers nervous." Maya leaned forward, fascinated despite herself. Enhanced intelligence in animals was only the beginning. Some creatures developed abilities that your scientists couldn't explain: telepathic communication, precognitive flashes, even limited matter manipulation. The Zephyrian Empire and other major powers realized that Earth was producing beings that could challenge their technological advantages. The ship's communication system crackled to life, interrupting their conversation. Captain Rodriguez's voice filled the cargo hold. "Miss Chen, we're receiving an urgent transmission from your father. He wants to speak with you immediately." Maya sighed and activated her personal communicator. David Chen's face appeared in the holographic display, his expression a mixture of concern and barely controlled anger. "Maya, what the hell were you thinking? 2 billion credits for a wolf? The board of directors is demanding explanations, and I'm getting calls from government officials across 3 star systems. Dad, I can explain. You better have a damn good explanation, because the Zephyrian ambassador has filed a formal complaint with the Galactic Trade Commission. They're claiming that you deliberately interfered with an imperial military acquisition. Do you have any idea what kind of position that puts our company in?" Maya glanced at Fenris, who had risen to his feet and was watching the conversation with obvious interest. She couldn't exactly explain that the wolf was telepathic and had warned her about the Empire's intentions. "I made a business decision based on information I had about the specimen's potential value," she said carefully. "Sometimes investments that seem expensive prove to be worth far more than their initial cost." Her father's expression softened slightly. Despite his anger, he had raised Maya to think independently, and he respected her judgment even when he didn't understand her reasoning. "What kind of information are you talking about?" "The bidding summary says it's just an enhanced wolf from the quarantined Earth system." Before Maya could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Captain Rodriguez's voice cut through the noise. "All hands to emergency stations. We're dropping out of hyperspace. Unknown vessels are approaching our position." Maya felt her stomach lurch as the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated during the emergency hyperspace exit. Through the cargo hold's small porthole, she could see stars appearing as the stellar wind returned to normal space. More concerning were the 3 sleek ships that immediately became visible, their hulls bearing the distinctive purple and silver markings of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy. "Dad, I have to go." Maya said quickly. "We're having some kind of situation here." Maya, wait. She cut the transmission and ran toward the cargo hold's control panel. The force barrier around Fenris deactivated with a soft chime, and the wolf immediately moved to stand beside her. "This is exactly what I was afraid would happen," she muttered, pulling up the ship's status displays. "They're not even waiting until we reach human space." Fenris's mental voice was calm but urgent. "The Empire doesn't respect the legal niceties when they want something badly enough. They'll claim this was a random piracy check, or some other excuse." Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom again. "Miss Chen, the lead ship is demanding permission to board for a routine inspection. They're claiming we might be carrying contraband goods." Maya activated the ship's communication system. "This is Maya Chen, aboard the Stellar Wind. We are in neutral space carrying legally purchased goods. You have no authority to board this vessel." The response came immediately from the Zephyrian lead ship. "This is Commander Veltar of the Imperial Cruiser Dominion. Our sensors indicate you are carrying a specimen that may pose a biological threat to galactic security. Prepare to be boarded or face the consequences." "They can't do this," Maya said, more to herself than to Fenris. "We're not in Imperial space, and they have no legal jurisdiction here." Fenris moved closer to her, his massive form somehow reassuring despite their desperate situation. "Legal jurisdiction is a luxury the Empire only observes when it suits their purposes, but they are making a mistake by approaching us so aggressively." Before Maya could ask what he meant, the ship shuddered as the Zephyrian vessels locked tractor beams onto the Stellar Wind. Through the porthole, she could see boarding pods launching from the lead cruiser. "Captain Rodriguez, how long until they reach us?" Maya called over the intercom. 3 minutes, Miss Chen. My crew is good, but we're a cargo transport, not a warship. We can't fight our way out of this." Maya felt panic beginning to set in. If the Zephyrians captured Fenris, they would likely disappear both of them to prevent any diplomatic incidents. Her father's wealth and connections wouldn't matter if there were no witnesses to what happened. "Maya," Fenris said, his mental voice surprisingly calm, "I need you to trust me completely. What I'm about to do will seem impossible, but it may be our only chance." "What are you talking about?" "The enhancements my kind received on Earth went far beyond simple intelligence boosts. Some of us developed abilities that would be considered supernatural by most galactic standards. The Empire knows this, which is why they want us so badly." The wolf closed his eyes and seemed to concentrate deeply. Maya felt a strange tingling sensation in the air, as if the cargo hold had suddenly become charged with static electricity. The ship's lights flickered, and several electronic displays showed brief bursts of interference. "Fenris, what are you doing?" "I'm reaching out to others like me, my packmates who were scattered across the galaxy when Earth was quarantined. Some were captured and sold, others escaped and have been hiding among various species, but we've never lost contact with each other." The tingling sensation intensified, and Maya could swear she heard distant howls echoing through space itself. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, carrying across impossible distances. Suddenly, the ship's proximity alarms began screaming. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over the intercom, filled with disbelief. "Miss Chen, you need to see this. Ships are dropping out of hyperspace all around us." Maya ran to the porthole and looked out at a sight that defied everything she thought she knew about the galaxy. Dozens of vessels were emerging from hyperspace, but these weren't military ships or commercial transports. They were modified civilian craft, smuggling vessels, and even a few outdated freighters that looked like they should have been scrapped decades ago. But despite their motley appearance, they all bore one thing in common. Each ship carried at least one enhanced wolf from Earth. "This is impossible," Maya breathed. "How are they all here?" "We're in the middle of nowhere." Fenris opened his eyes, and they seemed to glow with an inner light. "Distance means nothing to pack bonds, forged in the enhancement chambers of Earth. When one of us calls, the others answer." The Empire wanted to capture a single wolf to study and replicate. Instead, they're about to face the entire scattered pack. The lead Zephyrian commander's voice cut through the communications channels, now filled with uncertainty. "Unknown vessels, Identify yourselves immediately. You are interfering with an Imperial military operation. The response came from multiple ships simultaneously. A chorus of human, alien, and even artificial intelligence voices. This is the Free Pack. You are threatening one of our own. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Maya watched in amazement as the Zephyrian ships, which had seemed so imposing moments before, suddenly found themselves vastly outnumbered. The Free Pack vessels might not look like much individually, but together they represented firepower and coordination that the Imperial forces hadn't expected to encounter. Commander Veltar's voice returned, now containing a note of barely controlled anger. This is preposterous. These ships have no right to interfere with Imperial operations. I am ordering all vessels to disperse immediately or face military action. The largest of the Free Pack ships, a converted mining vessel called Wolf's Bane, responded. Commander, you are in neutral space, threatening a civilian transport carrying legally purchased goods. Your own Imperial laws state that such actions constitute piracy. We are here to ensure those laws are respected. Maya realized that whoever was speaking for the Free Pack knew Imperial law better than the Imperial commander did. The Zephyrians had been so confident in their technological and military superiority that they had grown careless about legal justifications for their actions. Fenris's mental voice reached her again. The Empire rules through fear and overwhelming force. They're not used to encountering organized resistance that understands their own laws and procedures. But this is only the beginning. What happens next will determine whether humanity remains quarantined or takes its place among the free peoples of the galaxy. Through the porthole, Maya could see the Zephyrian boarding pods had stopped their approach toward the stellar wind. The Imperial ships were now surrounded by Free Pack vessels, and their commanders were undoubtedly trying to figure out how to extricate themselves from a situation that had spiraled far beyond their expectations. Commander Veltar, came another voice from the Free Pack, this one clearly synthetic. You have 30 seconds to release your tractor beams and withdraw to a distance of 10,000 kilometers. Failure to comply will result in defensive actions being taken. Maya held her breath as the seconds ticked by. The Zephyrian Empire hadn't maintained their dominance for 3 centuries by backing down from confrontations, but they also hadn't achieved their power by making tactically stupid decisions when faced with superior numbers. Finally, the tractor beams released the stellar wind, and the Imperial ships began moving away from the Free Pack formation. But Commander Veltar's final transmission carried a promise that made Maya's blood run cold. This incident will be reported to the Imperial Council. The Empire has a long memory, and we do not forget those who interfere with our operations. As the Zephyrian ships jumped back into hyperspace, Maya sank to the floor of the cargo hold, overwhelmed by what she had just witnessed. She had purchased a wolf and somehow triggered the emergence of a hidden network that spanned the galaxy. Fenris, she said quietly, what have I gotten myself into? The wolf lay down beside her, his massive form somehow comforting despite everything that had just happened. You have given the scattered children of Earth a reason to come together again. But you're right to be concerned. The Empire will not let this challenge go unanswered. What happened here today will force them to reveal their true nature to the galaxy. Through the ship's communication system, Maya could hear Captain Rodriguez coordinating with the Free Pack vessels to ensure safe passage to human space. But she knew that reaching her father's station would only be the beginning of a much larger conflict. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy through carefully maintained fear and the illusion of overwhelming power. Today, for the first time in centuries, that illusion had been shattered by a group of enhanced wolves and their human allies. The Empire would need to respond decisively to maintain their dominance, which meant the conflict was only beginning. Maya looked out at the Free Pack ships, escorting them toward human space, and realized that her simple desire to save a wolf from becoming a military experiment had accidentally started something that might change the balance of power in Beyond Oz, the galaxy forever. 3 weeks after the incident in neutral space, Maya stood on the observation deck of her family's mining station, watching the most unlikely fleet in galactic history prepare for battle. The Free Pack had grown from the dozens of ships that had rescued her to nearly 200 vessels, as enhanced wolves and their human companions emerged from hiding across the galaxy. The Chen family station, originally designed to process asteroids for rare minerals, had been transformed into the unofficial headquarters of what many were calling the first serious challenge to Zephyrian dominance in centuries. Ships of every description filled the space around the station. Converted freighters bristling with improvised weapons, sleek racing ships modified for combat, and even a few captured Imperial vessels that had defected to the Free Pack cause. "The Empire has responded exactly as we predicted," Fenris said, his mental voice reaching Maya as she watched the preparations. The massive wolf now moved freely throughout the station, his presence having a calming effect on both humans and the various alien species who had joined their cause. Maya turned from the window to look at the tactical display that dominated the station's command center. The holographic projection showed the Zephyrian response to their defiance. A fleet of over 500 Imperial warships, including 3 of their dreaded Dreadnought-class vessels, was approaching human space. The official justification was restoration of galactic order and suppression of terrorist activities. "They're bringing enough firepower to glass entire planets," Captain Rodriguez observed grimly. He had been promoted to Maya's military advisor, a position he never expected to hold when he signed on as a cargo transport captain. "Even with all the ships that have joined us, we're still outnumbered 3-1. Maya's father, David Chen, studied the tactical display with the same intensity he once applied to corporate acquisition strategies. The past 3 weeks had aged him considerably as he watched his daughter transform from a headstrong young woman into the de facto leader of a galactic revolution. "The numbers don't look good," he admitted. "But raw firepower isn't the only factor in space combat. The Empire has grown complacent after centuries of unchallenged dominance. They're used to fighting scattered rebel groups, not organized resistance." Admiral Sarah Kowalski, formerly of the Earth Defense Force and now the Free Pack's senior military commander, nodded in agreement. "The Imperial fleet is impressive, but they're following standard Zephyrian doctrine, overwhelming force applied in predictable patterns. We have advantages they don't expect." "Such as?" Maya asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Fenris moved to stand beside the tactical display, his blue eyes reflecting the holographic lights. "The wolves. Maya, every ship in our fleet has at least one enhanced wolf aboard, and we're all connected through the pack bond. That gives us coordination and communication capabilities the Empire can't match or counter." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the xenobiologist who had been studying the enhanced wolves since they arrived at the station, looked up from her research terminal. "The telepathic network is unlike anything in recorded galactic history. The wolves can share information instantaneously across any distance, coordinate complex maneuvers without electronic communication, and even share sensory data between ships." Maya walked over to examine Dr. Vasquez's latest findings. "How is that even possible?" "The galactic databases say telepathy is purely theoretical. The databases are based on Imperial research," Dr. Vasquez replied. "The Zephyrians and other major powers have spent centuries studying psychic phenomena, but they've never encountered anything like what the Earth enhancement programs produced. The wolves don't just communicate telepathically. They share a collective consciousness that allows them to act as a single entity when necessary." The implications of this revelation were staggering. Maya had initially thought she was saving a single, intelligent wolf from becoming a military experiment. Instead, she had discovered that Earth had produced an entire species capable of coordination that surpassed the Empire's most advanced computer networks. "There's something else," Fenris added, his mental voice carrying a note of anticipation. "The pack bond doesn't only connect wolves to each other. It can also include humans who have formed strong emotional connections with us." Maya felt a strange, tingling sensation, similar to what she had experienced during the rescue in neutral space. Suddenly, she could sense the presence of every wolf on the station, their emotions and thoughts brushing against the edges of her consciousness. More surprisingly, she could also feel the humans who had bonded with wolves, creating a network that spanned the entire Free Pack fleet. "This is incredible," she breathed, experiencing the sensation of being connected to hundreds of minds across space. "How long have you known this was possible?" "Since the moment you bid for me at the auction," Fenris replied. "You weren't just buying a wolf, Maya. You were choosing to join something much larger than yourself. The tactical display chimed with an incoming message. Admiral Kowalski activated the communication system, and Ambassador Thexral's familiar purple-scaled face appeared in the holographic projector. To the terrorists and criminals calling themselves the Free Pack, the Zephyrian ambassador began, his voice dripping with contempt. This is your final warning. Surrender the stolen Imperial property and submit to lawful authority, or face the full might of the Zephyrian Empire. You have 6 hours to comply. Maya stepped forward, feeling the confidence that came from being connected to the Pack network. Ambassador, this is Maya Chen. We are not terrorists or criminals. We are free beings exercising our right to exist without imperial oppression. The human child speaks. Thexral sneered. You have stolen property belonging to the Empire and incited rebellion across multiple star systems. These crimes will not go unpunished. The only crime here is the Empire's attempt to enslave intelligent beings, Maya replied firmly. The enhanced wolves are not property to be bought and sold. They are sentient creatures with the right to determine their own destiny. Ambassador Thexral's scales darkened to an angry violet. Sentient or not, they are the products of illegal experiments conducted by a quarantined species. By galactic law, they belong to the authority that discovered them. By whose law? Admiral Kowalski interjected. The Galactic Trade Commission's own legal database shows that sentient beings cannot be owned, regardless of their origin. The Empire makes the laws, Admiral, Thexral replied coldly, and we decide when they apply. You have 6 hours. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Through the pack bond, Maya could feel the mixture of fear and determination flowing through the Free Pack fleet. Many of the humans and aliens who had joined their cause were civilians who had never been in combat. But they were united by something stronger than military training, the knowledge that they were fighting for the right to be free. 6 hours, David Chen said quietly. That's not much time to prepare for the largest space battle in recent galactic history. Fenris moved to the center of the command center, his white fur seeming to glow under the harsh lights. Time is something the Empire thinks they control, but they're about to learn otherwise. Maya, I need you to help me establish a full pack connection with every ship in our fleet. I don't know how to do that, Maya protested. I'm not telepathic. You don't need to be. The bond flows through strong emotions and shared purpose. You've already proven you can connect with us. Now we need to extend that connection to include everyone who stands with us against imperial tyranny. Maya closed her eyes and reached out through the strange mental link she had discovered. She could feel Fenris's presence like a warm flame in her mind, and through him, she touched the consciousness of every enhanced wolf in the fleet. But more than that, she could sense the humans, aliens, and artificial intelligences who had chosen to fight alongside them. The connection spread like ripples through water, linking minds across hundreds of ships and dozens of species. For the first time in galactic history, different races were sharing thoughts and emotions directly, creating a unity that transcended the barriers of language, culture, and biology. Through the pack bond, Maya felt the fear of a young human pilot on his first combat mission, the determination of a Centauri engineer who had fled imperial oppression, and the cold anger of an artificial intelligence that had been scheduled for memory wipe by Zephyrian authorities. But underlying all these individual emotions was something stronger. Hope. They're not expecting this, Admiral Kowalski said, studying the tactical display with new understanding. The Empire has never faced an enemy that could coordinate without electronic communication. Their standard jamming tactics will be useless against us. Maya opened her eyes and found herself at the center of something unprecedented in galactic history. The Free Pack fleet was no longer a collection of individual ships. It had become a single organism, with hundreds of minds working in perfect harmony. The Empire rules through fear and division, she said, her voice carrying across the fleet through the pack bond. They keep different species isolated from each other, maintaining power by preventing unity. But today, we show the galaxy what's possible when free beings stand together. The next 6 hours passed quickly as the Free Pack prepared for battle. Ships moved into formation with a coordination that seemed almost supernatural to outside observers. Weapons were charged, shields were raised, and tactical plans were shared instantaneously through the mental network that connected every member of the fleet. When the Imperial fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of human space, they found something they had never encountered before. An enemy that fought as one, while maintaining the individual strengths of many different species and ship types. The battle began with the Empire's traditional overwhelming assault. Hundreds of ships firing simultaneously in perfectly coordinated patterns. But the Free Pack responded with something the Zephyrians had never seen. Ships moving in perfect harmony without electronic coordination, dodging attacks with prescient awareness, and striking back with devastating precision. Through the pack bond, Maya experienced the battle from hundreds of different perspectives simultaneously. She felt the excitement of pilots making impossible maneuvers, the satisfaction of gunners scoring direct hits, and the determination of engineers keeping damaged ships fighting despite catastrophic damage. The turning point came when the Free Pack managed to isolate and capture one of the Imperial dreadnoughts, using their perfect coordination to overwhelm its defenses while protecting each other from counterattacks. The sight of a Zephyrian superweapon in Free Pack hands sent shockwaves through the Imperial fleet. Ambassador Thexral's face appeared on their communications screen again, but this time his purple scales were pale with shock. "This is impossible. How are you coordinating your ships without detectable communications?" Maya smiled, feeling the confidence of the entire pack flowing through her. "You spent centuries studying individual species, Ambassador. You never bothered to learn what happens when free beings truly unite for a common cause." The battle continued for 3 more hours, but the outcome became increasingly clear. The Imperial fleet, designed for overwhelming isolated enemies, couldn't adapt to fighting a truly coordinated opponent. Ship after ship was either captured or forced to retreat, until Ambassador Thexral found himself commanding a force barely half its original size. "This isn't over," he transmitted, his voice filled with rage and disbelief. "The Empire will return with greater force. You cannot hide behind this unnatural coordination forever." "We're not hiding, Ambassador," Maya replied. "We're showing the galaxy that there's an alternative to Imperial rule. And every species that sees what we've accomplished here will know that freedom is possible." As the remaining Imperial ships jumped to hyperspace in retreat, Maya felt a profound shift in the galactic balance of power. The Zephyrian Empire's aura of invincibility had been shattered, and the Free Pack had proven that unity could triumph over raw force. But she also knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would not accept defeat easily, and their response would likely be even more brutal than their initial attack. The galaxy was about to enter a new era of conflict, one that would determine whether freedom or tyranny would shape the future among the stars. Through the pack bond, Maya felt the thoughts and emotions of beings across the galaxy who had witnessed the battle through various communication networks. Hope was spreading from world to world as oppressed peoples realized that the Empire could be defeated. The enhanced wolves of Earth had given the galaxy something it had been missing for centuries, proof that resistance was not futile. As she stood on the observation deck, watching the Free Pack fleet reorganize after their victory, Maya realized that her simple desire to save a wolf had grown into something that would echo across galactic history. The Empire's anger had been earned, but so had the galaxy's hope for freedom.